A few months ago, I was experimenting with King Arthur bread flour, which at the time was my favorite flour to use for pizza dough, for New York style at least. And I was experimenting with the hydration percentages. I did from like the high 50s up to 75%. And what I learned was the higher the hydration percentage, the more light and airy the crust would be. And the number I settled on for King Arthur flour was 65%. What I learned was lower than that. For King Arthur flour, the crust came out just too dense. It wasn't light, it wasn't airy. The rim was flat relatively. And so the number I settled on for King Arthur flour was 65%. It was just perfect, basically. I could go a little higher, but 65 was really good. Now, if you've been following my channel, you know that I bought 50 pounds of All Trump's high gluten, 14.2% gluten flour. And I'm learning that it has totally different characteristics than the King Arthur bread flour. And when I first made dough out of the All Trump's flour, I did my usual 65%, and it was really, really sticky. And so I brought it down to 62%, and 62% was really, really good. It just was about right in my book. However, I wanted to experiment and see what a lower hydration percentage would be like. And so I did this experiment today where I made two dough balls, one with 57% and then one with 62%. So a 5% hydration differential. When I was making the actual dough in the mixer and when I was shaping it, the dough that was made out of 62% was so much softer and sticky and supple and flexible, and it was just easier to work with. The 57% dough seemed pretty dense. So I made the dough last night, put it in the fridge, and here we are. I took it out and it sat at room temperature for about 2 hours. And I don't know if you can tell from the picture so much, but the dough with 62% hydration has quite a bit, it's noticeably more volume. It's just bigger and puffier. And so I was kind of expecting the same as with the King Arthur flour. I was expecting the 57% to be just really dense and flat, flatter rim. However, when I started to shape them, when I was shaping them, yeah, it was noticeably different. The 62% was so much more stretchy. I shaped it in half the time as the other one. However, once I got them both shaped, you can see here that they look pretty much identical. So I thought that was interesting. Now, when I baked them, they also looked identical, which is weird to me. We're talking about a pretty big gap, a 5% hydration differential. I was surprised. They tasted the same. The rim was the same. The thickness of the crust was the same. The rim might have been just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit more puffy on the 62%, but honestly, I don't think most people could even tell. So I was surprised. I'm learning a lot about how this super high protein content flour behaves different than regular bread flour. It's different on a lot of different fronts. Both these slices were really, really good. They both crisped up on the bottom so well. It was, when you're eating it, when I was eating it, it was just crunchy, perfect texture. The rims were both fluffy and chewy, and I couldn't really even tell the difference. So that's just what I learned. It was interesting to me. I'm going to be doing a lot more experiments here soon with this All Trump's flour, so stay tuned. Thanks.